undergone a remarkable transformation from a naive young man in his 20s, not quite knowing, not quite remembering what he said, what he did, to someone that's become involved deeply in South African politics of the day, and where we now ended in the last session with the arrest and conviction of former National Police Commissioner Selebi. So would you agree with me that that's been quite remarkable from where you started or wanted to start by coming into our country and where you were after the conviction of former National Commissioner Selebi?
Chair, I suppose so.
Yeah.
As you get older, you get wiser and you become more experienced, and you learn as you go along. Nobody's a perfect human being, but you try to do what you do. And that's why I decided to get involved in empowerment projects in the way I did, and created lots of jobs for previously disadvantaged people.
So was this as a result of just a remarkable set of coincidences, or is it entirely your initiative and your work and your determination and vision for what you would see as a corruption-free South Africa?
So some of the work, Chairman, wasn't related to corruption or anything of the kind. I did a lot of work in the tourism development arena, which, yeah, I committed myself in a very strong way to opening up tourism in Soweto, by sitting down with owners of tourism plant in Soweto, and by generating increased footfall. I think between 98 and 99, we were able to increase tourist traffic to Soweto by 47%. And I felt that part of the solution to the problems in South Africa was to create lots more work but quality work for people that previously were disadvantaged. And even though I myself had never been involved in this tragic event called apartheid, I believed that as a white person, I could and should try to do something that will improve the lives of all South Africans. And I think that my record in that regard speaks for itself.
Now, as I indicated, it's either by design or it's a remarkable set of coincidences, because we now also know that, yes, you had gone to school, you had some post-school, like we would say post-matric qualifications, but you don't have any tertiary education, university qualifications. So was it just on the job that you learned to become a crime buster?
I had no tertiary qualifications in the what you call crime busting field. However, I did study the necessary training to become a certified fraud examiner, which
you went to the States also to.
I did some of the training here and some of the training in the States. So there were a few courses that you could do in the States, but then you can do a lot of it online. And to become a certified fraud examiner, the exams and everything are recognized as NQF level 7, which is the equivalent of a bachelor's degree. And the staff that work for me, they've gone through that same process.
And to write that, you either need just a matric or O levels.
Yes, you need to have been able to demonstrate that you've worked in that arena. You can't just go and sit the exams without having worked in that field. And I had been working in the fraud investigation field for a number of years.
Okay. You weren't a witness in the Jackie Selebi trial.
No, I wasn't a witness because I didn't witness any of the corruption that took place. Or I didn't witness the drug trafficking that took place. What I did was I got information about it and I was able to get the witness.
Yeah, you kickstarted the investigation. You took your file or folder to the then NPA and I think to Harry Nell, and did they then complete or conclude the investigation?
That's correct. In fact, when I first went to them, they sent me packing. They said, no, you need to come back with some evidence. If you can't give us any evidence, we can't just work on the basis that you suspect this or you suspect that. So you need to go away and get evidence. So I went away and I got that evidence. So when I came back to them, I didn't have just the drug trafficking. I also had a sworn statement from the captain in the police in Sandton, who had interacted with Glenn Agliotti. I also had the details of the counterfeit goods, which I had previously been involved in, but I didn't have the case number or anything, but I knew that he was involved in the counterfeit goods. And then, of course, I'd managed to get the transport company that was moving the goods around. I also managed to get a jeweler, a person that manufactures jewelry. And I managed to get this jeweler who was living in another country. He'd left South Africa. I managed to get this jeweler and I flew to see him. And he gave a sworn statement about a particular person that went into his shop and paid for watches that Jackie Selebi then came and picked up. So I managed to get all that sort of information.
So you gave the leads to the prosecutors, they followed up and then collected other corroborating evidence and witnesses. Yeah. But you yourself, you weren't involved in that further investigation or at the trial itself.
No, you see, Chairman, I don't have the ability, for example, like they would have, to pull cellular phone records that shows who was talking to who and when they were talking and where they were and all that sort of stuff. Only the police have that ability. I don't have the ability to pull the bank records of those people. They need Section 205 subpoenas to be able to pull those bank records. So they were able to go and put all the pieces of the jigsaw together based on the evidence that I supplied to them. And obviously, there was a lot of work involved in that. I believe they had a team of people working on it for a very long time. And they were able to actually do a raid and seize the 200 million rands worth of drugs.
So clearly on your own, with your own, or on your own devices or with your own team, you would not have been able to secure the conviction of the former National Commissioner?
Not at all. It would have been impossible because I'm not a prosecutor. I don't have access to the state's machinery to go and do those things.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked those questions by way of background or entry into the next section that we're going to look at is on page 14, paragraph 39, your investigative work into the SAPS and the NPA. Because you then say that on or about 2011, 2012, but I'm reading from paragraph 39, in the aftermath of the Selebi trial, and for several years thereafter, you've attempted a mopping up exercise whereby you identified and open cases against senior persons in the criminal justice system, that I could see had engaged in criminal activity and would reduce the law, rule of law. And in the next paragraph, you name certain people that you had identified, and then subsequently also multiple prosecutors and senior corrupt officials. And so you then embark on this so-called mopping up exercise. So you went on a crusade. And did you go do that on your own? Were you assisted by persons both inside the criminal justice system and outside? How did you go about doing that? Can you just summarize for us?
Chairman, opening a docket is just one step. After you open the docket, that's not the end of it. Somebody has to take that forward and then adduce further evidence and make a decision as to whether or not there'll be a prosecution.
Yeah.
And what I noted was that during the Selebi trial, a number of people got hands-on involved to try and prevent the successful trial and conviction of Jackie Selebi. And I won't say it was a crusade, but I realized that after the Jackie Selebi trial, the Scorpions were disbanded, and then those people were still in their jobs. And I thought, wow, nobody seems to be taking any action against them. So I decided to open dockets against them. And I...
So just repeat that and clarify. No, you jump from the Scorpions were disbanded. We know that that was 2008, 2009.
I think 2010.
2020, was it effective 2010?
Yes.
And then those people are still in their jobs. You're not referring to people who were actually the Scorpions.
No.
You're talking to other officials.
Yeah, so I've named them here. So what I saw, Chairman, was that, for example, some of these people gave evidence at the trial of Jackie Selebi, but they didn't give evidence for the state. They gave evidence for the defense. And I was quite shocked to see this. And then we had, while all this is going on, you have these investigative journalists, for example, Sunday Times, Mail and Guardian, News 24, IOL, you know, the Star newspaper, and so on and so forth. And what had started happening was stuff was coming out of the woodwork, which clearly implicated those people. And the catalyst for that was the so-called spy tapes, which I was shocked when I saw what was being published in the Mail and Guardian. And I reached out to the journalist and I asked him, is it possible for me to get these transcripts, to have a look at them? And in the story they wrote, my name wasn't mentioned at all. But when I got the transcripts, I saw my name was in there. And they were talking about dealing decisively with the O'Sullivan factor. So I thought, wow, somebody has a plan to deal decisively with the O'Sullivan factor.
And what who were these persons that you heard on the tapes?
So the persons talking on the tapes, from memory, was a person by the name, well, actually, they never named him in the tapes. They gave him a code word. I can't remember what the code word is now, but if you get the spy tapes, I'll point it out to you. Not the tapes themselves, but the transcript. And the code word, Luciano, I think it was something like that. Luciano or something like that was his code name. And the other person he was speaking to was, what was the name of the head of the Scorpions?
Of the Scorpions.
Leonard McCarthy.
Leonard McCarthy.
That's it. Sorry. Just try to remember. So it was Leonard McCarthy and this Luciano, who I later found out was Andre Pina. And I also found out that Andre Pina had previously apparently been a boss agent during the apartheid era. So, and he was living in London. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, what's been going on here? And he denied everything, of course. But the journalists published that it was him. And he was the one that said, don't worry about the O'Sullivan factor. Because what Leonard McCarthy had said was, because what Andre Pina, who's not a state employee at all in any way, shape, or form, he was referencing number one. And number one, he gave him a code name. Now, I can't remember which was which, but there were two code names. One was O'Wood, and the other one was O'Jan. And one of them was the president, the then president, Thabo Mbeki, and the other one was Jackie Selebi. And then they had another name for Jacob Zuma. And they talked about how they were going to manipulate things. And their plan was to get Jackie Selebi off the hook and get Jacob Zuma on the hook. And this would never have been found out except for when Vusi Bikoli was suspended. Jackie Selebi, the Minister of Justice then, Minister Bridget Bandler, she gave instructions to a person called Mokoteri Mpshe, who became the acting NDPP. She gave instructions to Mokoteri Mpshe to make sure that the warrants of arrest for Jackie Selebi would be withdrawn. Now, this is before Polokwane. And my understanding is that the magistrate that had signed the warrants refused to unsign them. He said, you can't come to me and ask me to issue a warrant of arrest and then tell me we've changed our mind, we need to cancel